Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. This is my, it's a review slash book talk slash just gushing about A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I really hope this is in frame. But I did an entire reading vlog on this book that I will leave linked in the iCard and below. I was originally going to do both of these videos together, but I have over an hour and 15 minutes of footage for my reading vlog alone, and this, I have a feeling, is going to be quite long as well. So this, I'm not going to go really into details about the plot aspect, like I might a bit, but I'm mainly just going to talk about my feelings and what I thought and where I think this series is going and why I loved it and all of that. I am going to put this book down because, well, holding it for 20 plus minutes will be a challenge. There, I kind of have it propped up so you can see it in the background. Let's start off with the fact that I absolutely loved this book. Going into this book, I was so excited, but I was also kind of skeptical because I had no idea really where this book was going to go, except that it was going to pretty much be like Cassian training Nesta and their relationship growing. And I will say this, that a lot of the plot of this book, there's gonna be a lot of spoilers in this. Like, I should have mentioned that before, but there's gonna be a lot of spoilers. But the plot of this book, with the villain and the challenges, did fall a little bit flat because I didn't really comprehend really what was going on besides Nesta and Cassian, and that's pretty much it. Everything else that was going on, I was just kind of okay, yeah. Because I'm gonna talk about the villain and the challenges, I guess, would be that we have we have Bryolin, I think that is how the name is pronounced, who is is one of the queens. Actually, see, I don't even remember really who she is, but she was our villain, even though she didn't feel like a villain. She was just kind of oh yeah, this, we're gonna have Asriel go spy on her, where she's the bad person, but then pretty much nothing happened. Nesta ended up killing her pretty easily. So she wasn't really a villain, and I guess maybe the big villain, the big bad villain for the rest of the series might be Koshi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but even then I don't really understand what his ultimate power is and what the ultimate goal would be, which you could kind of figure out some of that in A Court of Thorn and Roses for what was going to happen with the rest of the series. You could kind of guess that it was going to be something bigger, but this, I'm not really sure. What else is there to say? Let's just the thing with the mass, the Dread Trove, what was the other thing? The harp. I don't understand really anything with that. I don't the Dread Trove, I don't really know what that actually is. We didn't really we talked about it a lot, but I didn't really understand what it was. The harp, I do have theories with the harp that, I talked about this in my reading log, that somehow the harp will, because we know that it can stop time, it can teleport a person to another person, and can teleport a person to two people to an entirely different place. We know it can do that. But other than that, what can it do? Maybe, this is a crackhead theory, but maybe the harp somehow can open portals to like the Throne of Glass like world and the Crescent City world, since we know they're connected with the end of Kingdom of Ash, when Aelin falls through Valeris and through Crescent City. We know that these worlds are connected somehow. And then also another theory, we'll save the theories for the end. Actually, we'll say my other theories for the end. But like the harp, that one I was confusing. The mask, don't get me started on what it does. I don't really know. But we will come back to these when I talk about things. See, this is all over the place. Let's talk about Nesta and Cassian training, and Nesta creating this kind of, trying to create this group of female warriors called the Valkyrie, which was a group of all female warriors from before the war, like the war 500 years ago, however many, like the war 500 years ago that kind of wiped them all out. Nesta recreates this group because she was like, with her training with Cassian, it made her realize, like, with this, I have this power that I didn't have before. And she recruits some of the priestesses from the library to join, and she also recruits a female Illyrian named Emery, whose wings got cut, and kind of gave Emery power with knowing that, like, knowing how to fight and defend themselves, which Nesta, Emery, and one of the priestesses named Gwyn end up doing the blood rite, which is mentioned in, I don't remember which book it's first mentioned in. I think it's first mentioned in Akamath, or is it Akawar? I feel like it's one of those two, but they end up doing the blood, like, trying to complete in the blood rite up in, like, the mountains, and that is a whole thing. We're going all over the place. Nesta and Cassian were the death of me. The way that you clearly could see, because you saw both of their point of views, that they were interested in each other and that they wanted each other, but they didn't want to act on those feelings because the other person was kind of like scared that it wouldn't work out. And then when they finally like do something, it's just like, and like, if you thought, I think I also said this in my other video, but if you thought that like Akamath, like chapter 55 was spicy, oh, hold your horses. There is, whoo, oh. Let's just say this book has the most like intense sex scenes that I own in a physical book. I don't own many books that have like spicy scenes, but like this one sure does. There's like, what? There are multiple sex scenes that range from, and the scenes range from being like intense but so mild to like kind of intense. Like the first time that they have sex is just amazing. And also the way it's just sex. I rarely read books that the characters have sex when they're not in a relationship or are clearly like in love with each other, but like obviously, and it's real that like Cassian and Nesta, at the point when they started like hooking up, they were like fuck buddies essentially for like most of the book. Most besides like the last like 3 chapters or so were essentially like fuck buddies. But like that, I rarely read books that have that, but like I don't mind. Like it's revealed that they've loved each other the entire time, but they were just scared to admit it. Like Nesta, there's a whole point where Nesta's like, I didn't think that like I deserved you. You deserved somebody way better than me, and all of that. What else is there? Overall, the way that at the end, like, it's revealed, I guess we've known the entire time that Nesta and Cassian were going to be mates, but when it happens, you're just like, she's accepted him, and like, all of that, and she accepts him as the mate. and it's just like, what else? There's so much that I'm going to be like missing. Again, I love the like, this book is pretty feminist, like feminism, because like Nesta creating the Valkyrie and like Nesta creating the Valkyrie and like all of that is a pretty like badass thing to do, because like she didn't have to, she chose to do that. And yes, Cassian did train them, but it like, you get what I'm saying? Like, Cassian trained them because he believed that they should know how to defend themselves, which, yeah, you could claim isn't really like that that feminist, but compared to so many of the other Illyrians who believe that like females shouldn't be allowed to fight, that is kind of, that you can fight that, but like, I'm not saying that like, oh yeah, like this book is really feminist, but like it has aspects of it. Speaking of aspects of things, is Nesta's PTSD and her mental health and all of that. It's not explicitly, her mental health isn't explicitly talked about really, but it is at the same time, because we see her struggle with things like the sound of a crackling fire, because it reminds her of her father's neck snapping. That is said, and it's just, that broke my heart, that anytime there's like a crack, like the sound of a crackling fire, she imagines her father being dead. That's why she doesn't like fires, for example. And just overall, her not only her mental health, but I guess Cassian's as well, are kind of talked about in not a direct like, this is how my mental health is doing, but in like a mentions and just overall it's thought of and like all of that. I don't really want to go too deep into that, because I don't know if that like representation, I guess, is accurate, because, well, I can't say that, and somebody who has PTSD could be entirely like, that's not that, but it is. Nesta's abilities, it is revealed that she's literally kind of like death, in essentially, and that is pretty cool. But she ends up like giving the cauldron back some of her powers, because she gives back some of her powers for the ability to save Feyre during childbirth. Yes, you heard that correctly. Feyre and Rhys had a baby. Oh my gosh, cue my literal freaking out. I didn't get that on camera, but like I was freaking out. I was like, I'm sorry, they're having a what? Like they're having a baby, like oh my gosh. Like, Feyre and Rhys are parents, which is something that I'm like still like wrapping my head around. Like, they're parents. They have a son. They have a son named Nyx. I think that's how you pronounce it. Nyx. Nyx. That's how I'd pronounce it, at least. But they're parents. And like Nesta uses her abilities plus the mask and the harp to save Feyre during childbirth, because this, I guess, really isn't needing to be mentioned, but like, because a Fey human cannot bear an Illyrian, like an Illyrian child, and obviously since Rhys is half Illyrian, their child is a quarter Illyrian, and that child has wings, and the baby was getting stuck. Nesta used like her abilities to somehow make a deal or bargain, or, like not a bargain. There's a bargain. I'm not gonna mention that. But like essentially to magically make Feyre able to bear the child by giving, like magically, I don't remember how, but giving Feyre like Illyrian pelvis so that the baby could come out. And at the same time, she does that to herself too, so that her and Cassian can have a child, even though that's not fucking years away, but like just that idea of like her seeing her sister in that moment, saving her, and then also realizing like, yeah, I want a child someday, and the person that I want my children with is Illyrian. My child would be half Illyrian. I need that anatomy to have my future children. And in that moment when that was revealed, I was like, I'm sorry, you want children with him someday? I'm in love. Like, they're like, Nesta and Cassian are just bleh. That's how I feel. I am missing so fucking much. I'm probably forgetting so much, but I'm just absolutely in love with this book. I haven't even talked about probably like a third of the shit in this book. Just the way everything happens is just, it feels so amazing. Just everything is so great, and I am honestly like so excited for whenever the next book comes out, which won't be probably till 2023, honestly. I'd be shocked if it's any sooner. I'd love it to be like maybe like next year, fingers crossed, like end of 2022 is probably the earliest that it would be released. But again, I'm just absolutely in love with this book, absolutely in love with these characters. I will say this, which is something that I didn't think I would say, is I think I like Nesta more than Feyre. With this book, with the first 4 books, I was just kind of like, Nesta's okay, she's dealing with her own stuff, her being a bitch and all of that is fine. But in reading this and realizing why Nesta acts like this and why she is the way that she is, made me truly like see her, because also we're seeing Nesta from we're seeing Nesta not from Feyre's point of view, which is pretty much how we saw her for most of the series thus far. So seeing Nesta with like just seeing Nesta for Nesta and not Nesta through Feyre's eyes is better. I love that this is third point of view, and honestly I couldn't imagine this book if it was first point of view. Like, that would have been wouldn't have been as good, I don't think. So third point of view is amazing in this. I will say that I think I like the cover a bit more. I still hate it, but I like the cover a bit more knowing what the mask represents. But again, in saying that, I still dislike the cover. I'm tempted to buy a different dust jacket for this, one that I enjoy more, but I haven't decided that. I do want to say that I'm very, back to kind of my thing with the next book, I'm curious to know whose point of view the next book is going to be. Because Sarah originally said somewhere on some sort of social media, maybe in a live or something, that by the end of A Court of Silver Flames, you should know who the next book is going to be, like, about. And I'm sitting here like, I don't know. Like, I'm really, honestly, really hoping that it's, like, Azriel's point of view, because somehow in the very few scenes that we see him in, I don't think he shows up, like, for at least 100 pages, and even then he's in and out every so often. But, like, I really hope it's Azriel's point of view. I could be 100% wrong, but let's do a little segment called theories. So there's already the theory that I mentioned before, that the harp can somehow, open things and open portals and all that. But there's also this point where we talk about we mentioned by, I can't remember who says this, where there is mentioned of, there's like mentioned of creatures of like things that roam the earth before Fae. I'm going to read this line, and then I have a bit of a mini theory, I guess, on this. There's probably at some point there'll be like entire videos talking about like about this theory. But the Fae were not the first masters of this world. According to our oldest legends, most now forgotten, we were created by beings who were near gods and monsters. The Daglin, I think that's how it's pronounced. They ruled for millennia and enslaved us and the humans. They were petty and cruel and drank the magic of the lands like wine. And so my like theory, I guess, is that the Daglin, again, I think that's how it's pronounced, are either technically Valg from like Throne of Glass, or are a like similar to the Valg, or like something like that. Again, I want these worlds to be connected more, and in theory this could do that, because like that, I guess, kind of it kind of describes the Valg. I can't remember the exact description of the Valg because it's been over a year since I read Throne of Glass, but like petty, cruel, near gods and monsters. That kind of sounds like Valg, or again, something similar. So like that's a theory that I have that probably many people have. I'm not the one that created this for sure. There are a few other theories that I had that I don't have enough, like I don't know enough to talk about it, but I've heard of it. But like that's a theory that I'm like, I want that to happen. I'm a person that literally, I don't care how cliche it would be, I want Sarah J. Maas to write this like epic thing where somehow all three of her worlds come together and all of the characters meet in some way. But then at the same time, I'm like, there's literally too many characters, because there's like there would be like all of the characters from Throne of Glass, all the characters from ACOTAR, all the characters from like Crescent City. So like that would be a lot of characters and a lot of chaos, but like, come on, I want it. I don't care how cliche it would be, and it would in theory just be like a money grab, but like, shut up and take my money. That's how I've become with like Sarah J. Maas, is like, shut up and take my money. Like I ended up paying, I think it was like $58.69 for this, because it's a signed exclusive edition, and I'm from Canada, so shipping was a lot, and then the book itself was a lot. Like once you do conversions over all of that, it ended up being almost $60. Nobody's probably here by this point. I'm like realizing, like, if you sat through it this long, comment hi in the description. Comment hi in like the comments. But I'm going to leave this here. Again, I love this book, but I hope you enjoyed this video, and please do check out my reading vlog, and bye.